Thanks for tuning into the channel. I'm going to talk today about amplifying your 12 string. 12 strings, they pose some challenges for amplifying for live performance. And to this day, my preferred method for amplification is still to use a nice microphone, but supplementing with a pickup can make a world of difference. And so we're just going to talk about some of the types of pickups and things that work and don't work well on a 12 string, an acoustic 12 string, trying to amplify it for live use. This came about mainly because of a comment somebody had made on one of the videos asking on this guitar what kind of pickup I have in the soundhole. And I answered that person that this is a Shaler magnetic pickup. I bought this guitar used, and this was already permanently installed with an N-pin jack in it, and so I've just left it in there. I don't use it that much anymore, but it does have a pretty decent sound. I'm going to go ahead and just play a little bit. I am plugged in. You're going to hear guitar sound because I'm just using my phone to make this, but I'm using just a small bass amplifier, a little 25 watt bass amplifier, just to amplify the sound of the guitar through the pickup. And I have a pedal board with some reverb compression and that's a tiny bit of digital delay. So. So, just noodling around there a little bit. This is a pretty typical sound of the magnetic pickup. They can be very mid-range heavy. I have to use EQ on it to kind of take that boomy mid-range out, which I scoop out almost all the mids. I want to have a strong low end because I'm doing solo type stuff, and I want to get as natural a high end as much acoustic tone, or as close to an acoustic tone as I can. Typically with a magnetic pickup in the guitar, if I'm playing live somewhere like a coffee house or at a festival or something, I will ask for a microphone on stage for the guitar, one for my voice, and position the microphone just within proximity of the sound hole to get a decent sound. And I'll use the pickup and I'll ask the guy at the board to mix them 50%. Then what I will do is the biggest problem with using a microphone is low end stage rumble. You get this kind of heavy kind of rumble that'll create feedback. And so by using the pickup has a pretty good strong a good low fundamental sound. And then the microphone, I'll just get to EQ it to take out a lot of that low rumble and just give me the transients, the high end that comes off the strings to give it that sparkle. And so that 50-50 setup has served me well. Now if I was playing with a band, that microphone idea would not work as well, but I usually perform solo or with maybe a percussionist, and so that setup works pretty well. I also do multi-instrumental things, so I'm switching between guitar and banjo, and doing that. It's important the microphone gives me good consistency across all the different instruments, whether I'm playing mandolin or dobro or banjo or 6-string or 12-string. It seems to work pretty well with that. So magnetic pickups though do pose some weird problems because the type of strings that you use, most acoustic guitars are going to use bronze strings, and the magnetic properties of the bronze or brass wound strings are not as strong as the steel strings. So what happens is on your octave strings, let's try the D here. There's the lower octave on the D. Now if I hit the upper octave, it's considerably louder. So compared to the unamplified tone of the guitar, the octaves are going to be a little bit louder on the 12 string when I'm playing through a magnetic pickup. This is where using a microphone comes in really well, because that's going to give me a more balanced tone. But yeah, the steel strings, now what are some of the things you can do to work around that? Well, some brands of strings have more magnetic properties than others. I wouldn't recommend using an electric guitar set on a 12 string, although that would be one way of going about doing it. GHS makes a string that's called white bronze, and it is a magnetic, like a nickel alloy, but they have the same feel, and the tone is very similar to that as a bronze wound string, nice and bright, real clear. I have used those extensively, particularly on 6-string, but they do the 12-string sets do sound nice. I'm not a fan of the gauging of that, the feel of that particular set, so I don't use them regularly. But through a magnetic pickup, they do sound good. Leo Kottke endorsed them for a while, and Kottke has been known for having like sunrise pickups in his sound holes, and that's what he has used frequently over the years. Now, this particular pickup, this is a Shaler. It has adjustable pole pieces, so I can raise or lower the pole pieces for each pair of strings. And in this case, if you were to look closely at this, and you probably can't see it on here, I'll kind of hold it up, but the pole piece on the 6 string pairs, I've got it raised up fairly high because I want the low strings to be able to come out and balance out. If I have it just kind of level, then the treble strings kind of run away with the sound. And if you're just strumming and accompanying a vocalist, that might not be a bad deal, but I want the strong bass fundamental to be able to support the solo stuff that I'm doing. So this pickup, it just kind of has a little spring thing, and it comes in and out. When I change strings, I got to reach inside here to push out a bridge pin or something, I can take it out and put it back in pretty easily. There's a couple of brands of this type that I have used over the years. One is the Bill Lawrence made an acoustic electric type setup, clips into the sound hole very easily. It has a cord that comes out, or you could mount it in yourself with an in-pin jack, or have a luthier do that for you. And the beauty of that one is it had a piezoelectric plus a magnetic pickup built in it. It had a pretty good sound. One of the things that you'll run into is that because of the construction of the guitar and where the sound hole is in relation to the strings, compared to an electric guitar, there's more distance there, so you don't get quite as much gain, not as much volume as you would expect to get out of it. And so having adjustable pole pieces can help there a little bit. The Bill Lawrence did not have adjustable pole pieces, and you cannot affect the string to string balance. DiMarzio makes a couple of sound hole pickups with adjustable pole pieces that are pretty good. I've used them in the past. One of my favorite pickups, and though it's not one that's very expensive, is the Dean Markley, that sort of natural colored one that goes in the sound hole, the woody pickup. The single coil version of that sounds awesome, and but you got this wire hanging out of your sound hole with using that. So I have had guitars where I have permanently installed that one. It sounds really great on a 12-string. And another one is, I want to say it is Dean Markley makes a pickup that is, it mounts kind of up in the top of the sound hole up here, and it sounds darn good. It sounds really good. EMG makes one of a similar kind of design, and the Dean Markley is a whole lot less. And so I've used that one, and so that's one I could recommend. And it sounds really good. The bass response on it is really good, and the pickup is close to the string, so you get a little more gain. So I like that particular sound. So hang tight for a second. I'm going to be back with a different guitar, different pickup. Okay, next up is a guitar with a piezoelectric pickup system in it. This is not an under the saddle style bridge pickup. This has 2 piezoelectric sensors, one here and one here, inside the body, up underneath the bridge plate here. There's a number of brands like this, like K&K, and there's other ones that you can get. They range anywhere from $6 to a couple of $100. The biggest difference between them just seems to be roadworthiness. The sound of a piezo pickup is not substantially different between the $6 model and the $200 model if it's just the pickup itself. All piezoelectric pickups require some kind of preamp or something that's going to make the instrument to balance out their extraordinarily high impedance. That means they're unbalanced in the sound. They do pick up every nuance, but they also pick up top noise too. So if you make contact with the top, it's going to make some sound. But that may be something that you want compared to a magnetic pickup, which is just picking up the sound of the strings. If you're doing a percussive type thing where you're going to be popping on the top of the guitar, you want that to maybe come through. For some styles that works great. This one, straight to the amp with a tiny bit of compression, and I'm using the amp EQ. The sound of this particular pickup by itself without the preamp is not particularly pleasing to the ears. This one I use just mainly at home for recording, and I've used the microphone. But if I was going to take this out and gig, I would follow the same thing. I would use my microphone, and I would mix this with as little treble coming out of it and mostly bass to get a solid bass fundamental sound. And then I would mix that with the pickup and blend it. Now, one thing with piezoelectric pickups, they're very sensitive to volume changes and they can feedback like crazy. Now, if you use one with a good preamp, then that is one thing that you can use. But I'm just putting this in here just straight into the amp so you can kind of hear it. And so there's this kind of unpleasant mid-range quality. And I've dialed out almost all the mid-range. So it sounds, you get more string sound, a lot of high end. So I don't find that sound particularly pleasing, and if I would perform out with this guitar, I'd probably put a mag pickup in it. There have been times, an old Guild that I had years ago, I had a mag pickup, one of the Dean Markley Pro Mags, and I had an under the saddle pickup in it, and I blended them at the board, and I didn't use a microphone. I came up with a pretty good sound that way, and I could get quite a bit of volume before feedback out of that. When I play festivals and things, they could really crank that in quite a bit. Or if you're on a stage with really hot monitors, that made a difference. Be back in a second with another guitar. Now, I mentioned in talking about piezoelectric pickups that you need to have some kind of preamp before them to equalize and to balance the signal going out. One that I have used a lot and really I use it with magnetic pickups too, because it can make them sound great as well. Is this one by Behringer. This is the ADI 21, and it has a couple of different features. I don't have it in my pedal board right now. I don't have a battery in it even to show it to you. But if you want to get the best sound out of your pickups, this is a really great and affordable unit. It has an XLR out and a 1/4 inch out that you can go either to an amp or to the mixing console directly into the front of the house. It has some of the things here like a pad and ground lift like you'd have in a nice mixer. So if you want to, like if you're putting out like with a really hot signal from a pickup that's like a piezo pickup, you can take off some of that front end slam and prevent some distortion on it. It has a blend control, treble, mid, bass, a level, and a mid freak. And the mid frequency allows you to dial in just the amount of mids that you want to have in order to get because that's where your acoustic tone comes from. Whether you want to have a little or a lot. 12 string sounds good with a lot of the mids cut, so you're getting the richness of the low end and that jangly high end. So this is a pedal. If you want to add this to your board, if you're using a pickup, I can't say nothing but good stuff about this, and it's really very affordable, like $49, $59. Built as solid as a rock. The case is really heavy. It's very well built, and the batteries in it last quite a long time. You can put the AC adapter on it. This is what I do when I put it onto my board, and it works great. But I've used this with pickups in banjitars, and dobros, and piezo pickups and magnetic pickups, and it really helps you to get a good sound live. So I've gone back to the second guitar I showed you, my Moon guitar, the one that had the piezo pickup in it. And this time I'm going to show you a Dean Markley soundhole pickup. It takes just a minute to stick one of these in here. Literally you just slide it in. It has a couple of foam feet this sits on. You put it into the soundhole, let the cord hang out. It's got about a 10-foot, 12-foot cord. Plug it into your pedal board or your amp or whatever, and you're good to go. Let you hear this one. So it's a pretty natural sound for in the soundhole pickup. This is a single coil pickup, so you can get some hum if you're around neon lights or badly grounded stage, that kind of thing. But overall it sounds pretty good. You have to tweak the EQ quite a bit for this one to pull out the bass response that I want. to adjust your picking a little bit because this one sits pretty close to the strings, as you can see. And when you're finger picking, especially you're playing with picks, if you make contact with the pickup, you can hear it. I have sometimes played it with, just turned it a little bit like this, just so this way the angle is more in line with my fingers and my thumb. So the Guild here that I'm holding, this has a very good pickup system in it. It's an under the saddle Fishman pickup with a Fishman preamp. It is loaded, the controls are loaded up underneath the sound hole here. One of the things with many guitars when they come with a factory installed pickup system, they put a big control module up here on the top with an equalizer and volume, tone controls and everything, and a tuner, but they carve a big old slice out of the side of your instrument. That has always bothered me. It doesn't appear to be anything that's structurally wrong with it. It doesn't weaken the instrument or anything, but I always had the feeling that all that electronic stuff inside the guitar has a tendency to bog it down and bog down the vibration, and it just doesn't suit the guitar well. And guitars that don't have electronics like that inside there compared to one that has it, the ones that are non-amplified, just as a guitar to play in a room, usually sound a whole lot better to me. This instrument is kind of an exception. This Fishman system in it is really great. It comes factory installed. It has a little battery compartment down here. It takes a 9-volt battery, but it's equalized, so it's very balanced. So as I'm listening to now, I'm not sure how this is going to sound on a phone, on an iPhone microphone, but to my ear in the room, this is about as natural a sound as you can get coming out of an amplifier. The amp settings here are basically about maybe 30% on the lows, 30% on the mids, and I've got the treble up maybe just a little over half. And then I've got the EQ set. The settings on this are basically work like a volume and a tone control. They're very easy to dial in and nothing complicated. But this sounds more authentic to my ears here inside the room. So it sounds really good. So one of the things to consider, what the type of room you're playing in is you're going to be able to EQ your pickup enough to get the high end or low end that you want out of it. Are you going to be able to get the nuances of the string pulls and the tapping or whatever stuff that you're doing? Feedback resistance, how much feedback resistance are you going to have? The 12 string, you've got to deal with the fact that you've got unwound strings and wound strings on the pairs, and the octaves are going to always sound a little bit louder, so how are you going to deal with that? A little bit of compression can help with that. A little bit of EQ can help, but overall, you may have to adjust your playing just a little bit so you're not hitting the octave strings quite so hard. You can go with a different type of string set like the GHS white bronze. Silk and steel strings can sound great with a pickup. I don't have an example. Well, I do have an example. The first one I showed you there, the Alvarez has silk and steel strings on it. The rest of them have bronze wound strings. Okay, last of all, let me just show you my favorite pickup. This is not this is a 6 string, not a 12 string, obviously. And this is the only guitar I've got this particular pickup in. This pickup is made by Skysonic. It has a microphone and it has a magnetic pickup built into the two. and it's like a little boom that you can place the microphone where you want it on the inside of it. It mounts up here to the top of the body, kind of up out of the way of your fingers for finger picking, but it's got a great sound. So it's very, very natural sounding. The microphone plus the nice bass response you get from the magnetic pickup. It's got a little volume and EQ settings kind of on the back side of the pickup that you can reach into the sound hole and adjust, but it's kind of set it and forget it. The Skysonic, if I was performing live a lot now, I would get a couple more of these and put them into my guitars that I would be playing with, but I just mainly do videos anymore or record in my home studio. So, but yeah, the Skysonic, if you're looking for I think it's the best out there for amplifying an acoustic and getting the best of both worlds, microphone and magnetic pickup. Check them out. You can find them on eBay, sometimes pretty affordable if you catch the auctions just right, and that's where I got mine. And anyway, that's it for today. If you have questions, comments, observations, as always, put them in the comments, and give suggestions. What's your favorite pickup? What's your experiences with them live in the studio? Always like to hear from the viewers and everything. Thank you for your support and for visiting the channel tonight. I hope you found this lesson useful, and we'll see you around. Until next time, bye.